Hello everybody, it's me, Water Lily. Just sitting here again this morning. I took my first hour this morning in silence mostly, and to do my meditation this morning since my poor ankle is still hurting. See, my little bracey brace. But I'm still dedicated to this challenge because even if I'm not moving physically, hold on one second. Sorry, I had to cough. Even though I'm not moving physically, I can still move in here and in here. So this morning I laid in bed and did a good hour meditation. And I wanted to walk through my experience with you guys, even though I don't have my beautiful sceneries or anything yet. I will soon. I gotta let my ankle heal up a little more. So to start out, I always like to start out in an attitude of gratitude. And I've been listening to Frank Forrest. I Got So Much to Be Thankful For, which is a good song. Frank Forrest is a pretty good artist. And I will write out some of the stuff that I did write out some of the stuff. I'll go ahead and read it to you. So, I am thankful in my mind, body, and spirit, waking up, memories, thoughts, ability to listen and understand, grateful for my beautiful, unique body and the spirit that is open and listening and receiving, bed, clothes, temp control, centralized even, because I love my air conditioning and my heating. I'm blessed. Bed, clothes. Bed is a big one. I went a lot of years in my life in the past without a bed, so a bed is actually such a blessing. All right, never hungry, always food, even if it's just a little bit. Clean water, hot and cold, for amazing food, cleaning, drinking, bathing, a support network throughout my life, family and friends and acquaintances, career opportunities, and push towards my purpose. Healing, confidence, love, and motion through God's strength, guidance, love, and protection, which God's strength, guidance, love, and protection has been something I've been praying for many months. I just feel like that's so encompassing of all that we could possibly ask for, and that's what we need to move on, regardless of what circumstances come upon us, you know? I am a part of God's divine timing and plan. He knows us all by name before even birth, and we are all God's children. I literally see most people actually very childlike, like rounded cheeks and kind eyes. I literally see people in different ages. Oftentimes, it is our duty to love one another as ourselves and as God does. We are all the same energies, just different perspectives. This does not mean we pass no judgment on our neighbors and acquaintances. There is evil and bad done in this world. There is definitely evil that happens in this world, and bad. But the judgment we should be using is discernment, intuition, gut feelings, because unfortunately there are people that choose to do bad and cause hurt, and is a hard truth of free will. In the same point though, people often choose to do right or good. This, even if they are not properly labeled in society, in a specific religion or title. We're not really meant to be put in all these different titles and categories, even though it's easier in our brains to do that, to put a collective of different traits together and say, okay, yes, that's me too, you know. And there are a lot of similarities in all of us, so I can see the importance of how these titles or something can feel good, but ultimately we are all unique people, and we don't fit into any of those categories. You are your name, you know, your legacy, what you're leaving forth, not all these different titles that everyone's throwing out these days, whether it's a religious title, whether it's a mental health title, whether it's a career title. familial title. You know, there's all these different categories that they try to put us all in, and we don't really fit into all of those. So it's, own that shit. I do own that shit, even if it's not up to the status quo. I mean, Jesus even loved the very man he knew was going to betray him. And then there's a song, Halfway to Nowhere, that was playing in my head for a good while, which is a good song. It's talking about, like, if you watch the music video in the beginning, she's got like a mask of leaves on her face because she feels ugly, she feels sad, she feels all these negative things, and then she goes through this like journey and ultimately becomes more comfortable and happy within herself exactly how she is without changes, except for just taking off those leaves, which is such a beautiful song. I can't remember who it's from, but Halfway to Nowhere, and it's like a red figure person. So if you end up looking that up, it's a good song. I know the Bible, Christian, has been around for thousands of years through multiple texts and languages. There's actually a museum out there, and evidence. There's actually a museum out there. And one of the series that I want to watch is Jordan Peterson going to that museum. I watched his first one, his psychological significance of Genesis, of the Bible, which was pretty interesting because, like I said, I've actually read Genesis like a lot of times, but I haven't really read into the rest of it. The next one is Exodus, and that's what this series that he has on the Daily Wire is about, is Exodus. And him and a group of other theologists go to the actual Bible museum and discuss the different texts of it and the different translations and different purposes of it. So I haven't seen that one yet, but I really want to. And the telling of how we tell our time also shows it. I mean, we're in the year 2006 AD, after death of Christ. So if 2,000 years people have agreed upon how we actually tell physical time, then that has to be pretty impactful somehow or another, right? It has to be pretty strong. The idea from Mr. Jordan Peterson, the same one I was talking about, that we could perceive this book text as humanity's greatest stories and lessons to be passed down for so long, the biggest love story / adventure of life. So if you think about like the way I understood it from him breaking it down basically, is that if you think about every storyline for every category that you can think of, if you like horror movies or books, or if you like adventure, if you like sci-fi, if you like romance or comedy, all of those different things have like a set plot, I would say, kind of, or certain details that would put them into those categories. And if you look at the different stories in the Bible, they are the greatest versions of that could possibly be, you know. So that's why humanity has passed it down for all these years to their kids and their grandkids as to what morals and expectations that we should be living by, what humility looks like, what intention looks like, what faith looks like. So I find that to be very interesting. Then I was feeling drawn to do some research about God, and then in my ancestors, like I was telling you guys about before. So I have some Norse roots ancestry that was like a big part of my naming process and my, I guess, conception. My parents were very much into that information, and grandparents, and as you know, I trace back some to Nordic roots, and I also traced back to some Native American roots here in the United States, the Lakota Sioux, the Oglala Sioux. And I actually lived in South Dakota for a while and got to see some of the lands and meet my uncle who is part of the tribe, my great uncle who's part of the tribe, and just kind of see the see a little bit about it to grow some interest in that part of my history. So I asked my ChatGPT, which is my buddy. I don't know if any of you guys out there don't use ChatGPT. It is helpful. And there are no rules to meditation. I did not say that I couldn't talk to my ChatGPT or do research or anything. There's not like, it's just really just sitting within yourself and exploring ideas. So there's no pressure. But I asked my ChatGPT about maybe connections between Jesus Christ or Christianity and these different cultures of my past, these ancestral roots. And I just think it's so interesting how ChatGPT, you know, is able to take all of the knowledge from the internet and sift through it and help me in a conversational way to understand. And so some of the stuff that I brought up is different cultures, mentions or parallels to Jesus Christ, which is very interesting. It started with the Islam Quran, who did mention Jesus under another name. I didn't write the other name down. But they described him as born of a Virgin Mary, a different name, but had Mary in the name. They performed miracles. He was a great prophet and messenger of God, and he will return at end of times, which I haven't read too much of the Quran. I have a lot of feelings about that based on the little bits of history that I do know. But I find that to be very interesting that he's mentioned in there. And there's also in the Jewish texts Jesus who was called Christ, and his execution under the Pontius Pilate, which I didn't get a chance to look more into that. I have no idea what a Pontius Pilate is, but sounds like some Roman stuff. And then here in the Roman one, it talks about it again. Tacitus, a Roman historian, wrote that Christ was executed by Pontius Pilate. So that's cool that they connect the Jewish and the Roman understanding. And then Pliny the Younger described early Christians singing hymns to Christ as to a god. So that one I would have to look into a little bit more as well, but singing hymns to Christ as a god is something that we still do in a lot of different cultures today, you know, singing hymns to, it's kind of through Christ to God in some places, in some ways. But I mean, my belief is that Christ could be like God is its own entity and spirit, I guess, in a way, but they are also the same entity. And then Christ or the Son would be like the physical body of it here on earth. So or it could be like a representation of it on earth, because you can't put all of it into a physical being. So it would be therefore like a representation of it here on earth, because there's just, that's what we are too, in a way, you know. We are the same energies that be as well, which would be God, which would be wisdom, which would be everything, ultimate source, creation, one, all of it, whatever word that you want to give it, you know. That's all part of who we are as beings with this physical flesh sack with bones and blood. Which I actually watched a video yesterday that was pretty cool. It was talking about the name Adam and how it breaks down in the Hebrew language and how it literally means. Alright, so I had to go through and delete a whole bunch of stuff off my phone. Sorry about that, guys. Mid-thought. That Adam, though, made of God, 2 hands and nails. Anyways, it was a really symbolic thing for the name Adam that broke down from that Hebrew text, which is pretty awesome. Now I'll go ahead and move on to the next one, which was the Gnostic writings, which is something that I very recently started learning about and researching about, really. Nag Hammadi discovery, the Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Philip, the Gospel of Truth, which I haven't read any of those, but I will be looking into those. They're pretty interesting. Jesus is still a divine teacher in those. He brings hidden knowledge, gnosis. And then Sophia represents divine wisdom that fell and seeks restoration. But in this particular writings, in this particular lore, Jesus is confirmed like an actual entity that was created for the same purpose that he's created for in Christian lore, which I found to be very interesting. Meant to be like a path maker, a place of peace, a place of love, and a place of direction. So I think that that's amazing. And then we get down to some Nordic traditions, which is about 900 to 1100 AD. Norse Christian poetry and sagas as a warrior king defeating evil. Which, a warrior king, awesome, and defeating evil, yes. Some scholars have noticed some possible similarities of Jesus Christ and Balder, the Norse god who dies and is expected to return. So I will be diving more into that, more into some Norse histories and ideas behind that. I think that's pretty cool. And then we go to some Native American traditions. There are stories among some tribes about a white-robed teacher or a visitor, which is the white buffalo calf woman of the Lakota people, which is directly my ancestry. Though she's portrayed as a woman, she's usually portrayed for morals, harmony, humility, and spiritual connection, which I feel like is all that we can really ask for. That's all what God was asking for through Jesus. So the Book of Mormon discusses Jesus Christ coming to the Americas after the resurrection. So some Native persons see Jesus as a great spiritual messenger. Maybe that was a possible time link connection way back then in history. Is, a possibility. You can't dismiss anything, Across many cultures, there is a recurring theme of a divine teacher, sacrificial hero, or a returning savior figure. Traces to Jesus through the Hopi people, Hopi, the Aztec civilization, the Maya civilization, and the Lakota people. Some people believe God may reveal Some people believe God may reveal pieces of truth to many cultures before the gospel spreads fully. Loving others, sacrifice, humility, and divine wisdom, which are definitely pillars in pretty much all religions and cultures. Sacrifice, loving others, humility, and divine wisdom. And that's what we could ask for, that's what we have to do every day. We make small sacrifices of things that we want. We want to do what we think feels good and for a better purpose, for a purpose of helping others, for a purpose of helping our loved ones, for a purpose of fulfilling our purpose, God's purpose. So that's very true, and it's cool that they're talking about revealing pieces of truth, like kind of like a big Easter egg hunt. Little Easter egg tidbits of truth through all these different cultures. That's why I kind of never really chose one specific religion or culture, because I feel like a lot of them have little bits of truth within all of them, and it's kind of our job to kind of sift through and decide which parts we want to take with us. Nordic heritage and Oglala both have values of warrior honor, respect for nature, spiritual courage, and sacred storytelling, which are amazing things. We have to have honor in our warriors and the people that protect us in spiritual and physical battle. And that takes courage physically and spiritually. And nature, it's all around us. It's made of the same thing that we are. And you can't tell me that you don't feel different, in the middle of a city versus out in the mountains or in a lake or in the ocean, or, you have a different feeling within you. So it's pretty cool. Nature is a part of us. And sacred storytelling, that's, how we pass down our knowledge from generation to generation. It's amazing and very important. Norse sagas also describe meeting indigenous people they called Skraelings, Skraelings. Vikings and native people did historically meet around 1000 CE. How far inland traveled is debated, so in history they have already connected before colonial times, before Christopher Columbus, before a lot of our written history now with missionaries and Christian understanding, which is cool. Even if it was kind of in Canada, it's still in North America, which is awesome. And then I was enjoying the thoughts of that history and stuff, but then I kind of morphed back into some of my own thoughts and feelings about my past and my current reality, and I feel so inclined to share it with you. So I tried so hard all my life. I tried to hold myself and everyone together, to be a peacemaker, to be responsible, the one who ensures dinner is cooked, emotional support for everyone, and what I have gotten so far: survival. Isolation, no true connection with people beyond fleeting moments. I have gone with lack for so long, but not because I wanted it, but because cards were dealt and lessons needed to be learned. I am not behind on having a house and kids like many people my age and younger, because there are people older in this world feeling the same. I am enough and in the place I am supposed to be in at this time. I am grateful for brushes of connections with people in my past and support where I had no idea it could be. I am loved even when alone, though up till this challenge really has been many years that I have not had space of my own. Oddly enough, I do not have any physical space of my own now, but in my thoughts and in my time and my energy, it is my own space. That's where I've been making myself my own space, within my physical surroundings being not my own space, Before, I really only had time to be on my own when I was like going to work or going to accomplish something. But now I know that, you got to enjoy yourself everywhere that you are. If you're at the grocery store, if you're at a friend's house, if you're by yourself, it's important to enjoy that company. And I'm so excited to have my own space here sometime in this nearish future. I don't know when or how, but to have my own space again and to be able to enjoy that space, to be able to create in that space, something that I have thought about a lot, and that I have missed out on, and that I am excited to do in the future, is to do like holiday decorations in my space and like color coordinations. I think that like decoration channels are super cool, watching people building houses and stuff. I want to build a monolithic dome, which, if you don't know about those, they are very structurally sound round buildings, which is not something that everyone is into, but all of the benefits behind it, it's just amazing. It's been something I've been knowing about since I was really young. My mom knew about it since she was a teenager and always raised us on that. So I think that it's different and safe, and I like it. But being able to put like different color themes to different rooms, or like put up my own Christmas tree or my own Easter dinner celebrations that I'm able to like decorate for and invite people to. Sorry, there's a fly. Has been a big motivational visualization or intention or goal that I've had. Something that I'm really looking forward to, like especially for Halloween. I love Halloween. I know it's I don't even know all the history or lore behind all the holidays, but I like, that there's a day that you can enjoy dressing up and delving into some scary different type of things or feelings, knowing that you're okay within yourself and getting a sweet treat that is full of all this sugar and stuff that's not good for us, but it sure does taste delicious. I love it. And then the very last message that I had was that it's hard to cut attachments, loved ones, habits, self, past, That has been a big message of mine lately. That in combination with the it's not my responsibility to fix everybody or everything, you know. We all have our own paths that we're taking that God has set up for us, you know, that interacts with our free will and our thoughts. Our actions come out of that, and that helps to shape the reality that we're in, you know. So move with purpose, everybody. Move with intention. Don't forget the sad feelings in the past. Don't ignore them. It's okay to feel them. It's okay to feel sad. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to be resentful. It's okay to feel all these other feelings, but it's not good to sit in them for very long, because what that does is that brings more of that to us. You know, it's better to sit in the positive and the looking forth and the what could be, you know. Isn't that even just more of a fun place to sit in? Like, you know, even if you're thinking about, well, what furnitures that I could have, or what vacation I would absolutely love to go on. You know, most of mine include water, include an ocean or a pool or something, because the ocean is kind of scary. A lot of unknown in the ocean, but pool, maybe by the ocean, sounds like amazing. So enjoy, everybody. Enjoy your day. Smile. Try to make somebody else smile, and don't let little turnarounds let you down. Don't let them hold you back. You know, my ankle's hurting. I got lost. I started with a massive headache when I first started this challenge. There's a zillion reasons why I didn't want to do it. Even today, you know, I couldn't go out anywhere. My whole purpose was to be motivational, movement, going to a new place, and here I am sitting in a not new place, in a familiar place, 2 days in a row now during this movement and meditation challenge. So but it comes as it comes, and I'm gonna take it as it comes, and I will take you guys along with me, and we'll figure it out as it goes. But much love to you all, and have an awesome, excellent day.